Welcome to Numb Bills Fan Podcast for episode number 138. I am your host, David Palermo, and if you don't already, please subscribe on iTunes and Google Play or wherever you find your podcasts. Also, numbbillsfan.com has a playlist up as well in the upper right-hand corner. Website's all right. Doing my best with it. And make sure you check that out. So if you also want to support Numb Bills Fan Podcast, you can click through the Etsy store and pick up some Buffalo Bills memorabilia or a Numb Bills Fan shirt. All the proceeds go back into the podcast to pay for server space, and that's why there's not really much up there. So if you want, check it out. And some cool stuff up there, some vintage gear like some Super Bowl shirts and etc. Also, don't forget, GrandstandSportsNetwork.com. It's pretty rad, best view in sports, a lot of podcasts linked in on there all together under one roof. And Numb Bills Fan Podcast has a regular slot. I think we're playing a couple times a day. So make sure you check that out. And if you're listening through there, thank you. And please follow Numb Bills Fan on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I've been popping up in Reddit. I really, really dig Reddit because it's very bright, and they called me out on having shitty quality videos while I was at camp. And to defend myself, it's really hard to multitask there, and if you can get better sideline video, then get there and send it to me. Anyways, so you're kind of stuck on my shitty videos next year if I get there. So anyways, to the Reddit community, thank you for tuning in. I like being called on my shit. To the other people I talk to on the internet, I don't know. No, got a little offended this week. So, don't forget to, lastly, punchdrunksports.com, a sports podcast called Punch Drunk. Ari Shafir is three comedians and who do a sports podcast. Ari Shafir has a Netflix special out, Double Negative. Sam Tripoli also has another podcast, Tinfoil Hat Podcast, which is pretty sweet. And he also has a comedy album out called, totally forgot what it's called. The Diabolical. There it is. And Jason Tebow, you can find him also on the Red Zone Network. Or Red Zone channel. There we go, network. All right, so next to me is our old pal Tim Avery. Hi, Tim.
How's it going, Dave? Good to be back.
Yeah, so we're in White Trash Studios, and
pretty white, pretty trashy.
Yeah, pretty trashy. We were looking at some insulation and missing drywall.
Some nice spray foam, Dave.
Yeah, dude, that's like the window and door spray foam. It sprays out of the can, and it's pretty nice. It's nice when you have the Tyvek featuring inside the house. And what I did is I took out the ceiling, and you could see a nice. It looks like fiberglass.
Little fiberglass up top?
Yeah, like Ray Charles, we're in an addition of my room, and Ray Charles apparently in 1980 did this addition because when I bought the house, I didn't realize that 1.5 inches is the difference between one floor and another. So if you notice him when you walk in this room, it actually slopes down. And then the other part of the addition here, I actually went crazy and redid the floor, like notch floor joists, built like a little decking system under it for the crawl space. So pretty much you could get like an elephant and go stand on it, and I like double cross members underneath the deck, so it doubled up, and it kind of a little overkill. So doubled up strength, but I don't know why I'm talking about this. This is a podcast about the Buffalo Bills and the NFL and what's going on. So Tim, it's great to be back. Another powerful Bills fan that I love and talk to during camp and the off season. So how are you doing? How you be? How you feel?
A little down after this week, I gotta admit. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. I'll say this. Our defense is looking fantastic. And I just wish we could meld last year's offense and this year's defense because that would be pretty exciting.
Yeah, I agree. It's like I called this matchup out last podcast and on Locked On Bills podcast with Kevin Masseri on both of those. So when Greg from Rochester called the podcast on the regular podcast for Numb Bills Fan last podcast, I can't talk, 137, I told him I really liked the matchup. I really did. I thought that if the Bills can do what they did last year with points, and you have a defense that can stop Cam Newton, the ball was there to get taken away many times. The defense played lights out, but hey, a lot of times those balls are going to go through the secondary's hands, and Jordan Poyer is playing out of his mind. Really, 2 sacks. The team had a total of 6 sacks. Pretty stoked. Yarborough had 1, Shaq Lawson had 1, Jerry Hughes had 2. I came into this like the Bills can do some damage. And coming out of this game, Tim, one of the things that really bothered me was in the first half, the Bills didn't even get through, I think, their entire first 15 plays of the playbook, and
typically the first 15 to 20 plays are scripted. Isn't that usually the case in a lot of offenses?
Yeah, because you want to see how they're gonna react. So it's like the Buffalo Bills' first drive was on their own 25, 3 plays, 3 and out. Their second drive was on their own 10, 3 plays, 3 and out. Okay, so they started on their 10. Keep that in mind. The next drive, the Bills' second quarter, started on their own 2-yard line. Okay, another 6 plays, got rid of it. Boom. Buffalo start again on their own 25, 3 and out. Start again. Buffalo had the ball with 6 seconds left, 1 play. Okay, third quarter, the Bills start on their own 25. 6 plays, 2:27 off the clock. Again, Bills get the ball back. I know this is kind of dense to everybody, but I'm going to make a point. Start the ball again at the 21, 3 and out. So the Bills, again, they started at the 14 right after that with 6 minutes left. Again, the Bills finally, late in the fourth quarter, they start at the 43. Start at the 25 again, drive all, it's just
really frustrating.
Yeah. It was like a game where, a bend not break defense before you know it, the clock is gone. That's what this game was. Mm-hmm. It's like the Bills started within their own 10 a couple times, and it's pretty crazy. But you know what I didn't realize, Tim, is right after the game, I'm getting on Twitter, and I'm kind of reacting to people like, guys, don't blame Tyrod, don't blame Tyrod, don't blame Tyrod, because I just don't want to get on the guy right away. If there's something I see, which is, of course, there's always going to be throws every quarterback is going to want back or reads that they wish they saw, and that goes with the territory. Everybody in Buffalo is a quarterback evaluator now, and it's really hard to be objective about it. I get it. But really, I think I was wrong thinking that the Bills, looking at this whole box score thing and all the drives this morning, upon further review, it's almost like, really the Bills offense just didn't show up in general. And if you're Carolina, your defense is going to key in on the Pro Bowler, the all-pro guy. Well, if you're starting within your own 25 or at the 25, especially on your own 10-yard line or less, you have a very limited playbook. So I can't really get mad at some of the play calls. I really don't know what to think. I was just flabbergasted. I never felt the Bills were out of it. I felt like it was a Billsy kind of game from the Panthers where they're just hanging around too long. And frankly, here we go with refs again. You miss a LaShawn McCoy face mask, and then there's an offensive pass interference I don't even see a replay of. So after you have a ref that's heated out of his mind in the first quarter, and you didn't see a replay of either, and he's getting mad at the Bills, like, dude, fat ass, go sit on the sideline. Sorry, this is the NFL. Get into shape. It's not much to ask. I shouldn't have had the podcast every year about you stupid refs. Like, really, do your job, get off the field, and be in some respectable shape, dude. Like, seniority, you get older and your eyes get worse, but you're going to go ref the... I don't understand. Anyways, Tim, we actually have something special.
What's that?
We have a guy that we're going to call, and he was in Carolina. We have a couple people, and he was in Carolina, and his name is James, and he hit me up on Twitter, and I figured we'll talk to him, and we'll dive back into what we were talking about, which is pretty much like how field position really kind of mattered, I thought, at least for the Bills this game, and it's an old school thought. But, I think it's something that needs to happen. So I would love to dive back into that conversation with you after we call James Borum is his name on the Twitterverse.
Let's do it.
All right, and on the line is James. It looks like James Borum up there on Twitter, post alone. So, James, tell us a little bit about yourself. You were down at the game in Carolina, and tell us where you're from and how you ended up deciding to want to call in.
Yeah, I've been a fan of the podcast for a long time, David. I've been listening in and always thought, hey, maybe I'll just shoot him a message. I go to a couple of games a year and was able to make it to the Carolina game, so I thought maybe I'll just drop you a line on Twitter and find out if you needed somebody to talk to somebody at the game or whatnot.
Always, man. If you're going to that Cincinnati one you were talking about, we'll get you back. Is that what you said you're going? Cool. Another one? So.
Yeah. I should be able to go to that Bengals one in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I just wanted to hit you up and find out if you needed anybody to chat to that was at the game.
Yeah, man. Thank you for reaching out. So, what made you end up going? Where are you from? And go through some notes, man. You were talking before. You had some good stuff, and we didn't even get through all of them because you were just rolling. I'm like, man, you are really detailed. So, thank you for showing up more prepared than everybody else in this room.
No problem, man. I just took some notes while I was watching the game. Yeah, I'm from Indianapolis. Uncle's a Bills fan and got me in the 90s. And, by the time I was really, in high school, I was playing in a band. And that was kind of why I like the podcast, because I get a little bit of, band references and stuff.
Oh, really?
That
Tim next to me actually is a promoter at this. He does all the booking at this place called the Bug Jar in Rochester.
Oh, yeah.
And how old are you?
I'm 26.
26? No shit. Okay. Tim, how old are you? 35?
Just turned 36.
Jeez, Tim.
I'm ancient.
I know, 33. I got the salt and pepper in going on in my beer. So what do you do for music, dude? This is a curveball of a podcast. So what do you do?
No, I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, I still play guitar every now and again.
What kind of guitar?
A little bit of bass, but I think mostly I did most of my band stuff. I was singing in the band. So
nice.
But after high school, that kind of got busy with life, and then I started really getting into the Bills, and that's where I kind of, I'm able to play a little bit of music still, but mostly just kind of sit around and wait for fall and winter so I can start watching the Bills again.
Dude, that's so
awesome.
That's why I like the Bills, man. Is it gets my mind off of 4 other band members while I'm at work alone working to try to micromanage their life. Like, man, why the hell isn't this happening?
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice to follow sports, to get your mind off of things that don't matter, because there's only so much you can do, and sometimes you try to iron that sword too much and nothing happens. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I know exactly.
There's always so much you can do with band members and bands.
Yeah.
So what was the pulse down there? What was the ratio of Bills fans?
Oh man, I gotta say there was a lot of Bills fans there. It felt like a second home game a little bit. I would say it was at least 30%. I mean, really, the people I went with at the game were talking about how a lot of Carolina seems to be a lot of transplants or people who've moved to Carolina.
I hear that's the case.
Yeah, so a lot of fans, maintain their teams whenever they move there, and so a lot of the games are kind of heavily peppered in with other fans from other teams. But it definitely seemed like there was an uptick from the last Cincinnati game I went last year. I mean, there was a considerable jump in a number of Bills fans at the game. But yeah, no, I was able to talk to some Bills fans, but I really wanted to get a feel for the Carolina fans and find out how they felt about the upcoming game against the Bills. And a lot of them were really receptive to some of the things that I wanted to talk about. They really liked Brandon Beane and McDermott, but really Mike Tolbert was hands down their favorite. They love Mike Tolbert, but I also think they were able to get excuse me. I think they were able to really kind of stick it in Buffalo's eye when they were able to stop the run game, and especially Mike Tolbert. I know a lot of fans, they want to see him do good, but I think they also felt a little bit bummed that he was able to move with Brandon and Sean to Buffalo. So I think they were able to feel good about stopping that run. There were a few other things that they mentioned that everyone there was. Obviously Luke Kuechly and Greg Olsen, lots of fans there. They really were able to show up in mass with a ton of those jerseys on. And if you watch the game, you saw that Olsen went down injured
pretty early.
I think a lot of fans were really upset about that, and I think that was probably the bigger takeaway from the game is that there were some really big scares for the Panthers team. It seemed like Cam Newton went down. A lot of fans were really worried about that. He's the lifeblood of that team, and especially of the offense. And then I think Olsen going down was really bad too. I think a lot of them thought he was going to be somebody for them in the future to especially this season to really pop and it took away a little bit of their over the middle stuff. But that didn't stop some of the other players. I took some more notes down here. Kelvin Benjamin looked incredibly sharp and capable as the number one wide receiver for the team, even though the Bills secondary played pretty well against them. I really thought Tre'Davious White and Jordan Poyer played a great game in the secondary. Jordan Poyer really was a stand-up. He looked like an all-star on Sunday. Also with Olsen out, I think Devin Funchess could probably see a tick up for them in targets and receptions going forward. But really replacing Olsen is going to be very hard to do. I think Funchess has some big shoes to fill, and Olsen being sidelined.
Yeah, imagine all three of them out there at the same time, because Olsen's always been a go-to. He's a guy that for years, he kind of slipped under the radar of people, but it became Cam Newton's favorite target, really, because that tight end's a safety valve, So to see him go down, as a Bills fan, you're like, okay. But when you were in the stadium, it didn't feel like the Bills were out of it on my end. How did it feel over there? Carolina Panther fans must have been really just shitting their pants. Like, let's go.
Yeah, they definitely were. I think, from the get-go, talking to some of these Carolina fans, they had absolutely no worry that this game was a lock for a win for them. And I think the scoreboard at the end of the game really had them worried about some of their offensive performance. I do think the Bills' defense is a top 15, 12 defense in the league. But I think their lifeblood was, having Cam roll out, do some checkdowns, throw it into the flats and really move the ball forward. And it seemed like they were really lacking that ability. There were a couple big runs that got, I believe it was a third down, where Cam was able to get some extra yardage on a run that he was able to get on the sidelines. And I think that when I saw that, I thought maybe this game might kind of divulge, or I think the Bills were kind of giving up, it seemed like, especially on that play. So I'd say mostly the fans really did not expect to have such a low scoring game. But go ahead.
Not to cut in, but to cut in. One thing that Tim and I actually touched on, and we're gonna, I thought I'd just be on the phone with you for a couple minutes. Our messages are so quick. Thank you for the pictures, by the way. So if you've been on Numb Bills Fan Instagram, are you on Instagram or no? Because I tried to tag you. Are you? Okay.
Yeah. I am. Yep.
So just hit me back. Hit the Numb Bills Fan Instagram, and there's a few shots in there from you and my other buddy that I'm gonna call up after you, my friend Jamie, who I grew up with. And long story short, one of the things that Tim and I just touched on briefly to dive back into was I brought up the point that with this bend don't break defense, the problem with it is you suck the time off of the clock. And it just felt like the Bills couldn't get into a rhythm. And if you want to just join the conversation, I'm sure Tim's going to want to chime in too. It's just honestly one of those things where with that bend not break defense, I just thought that third down chunk yards, just chunk third down plays converted. And it's like, come on. I mean, I know they did a wonderful job. You're looking at points here. Okay, but I mean, how many didn't they have over 2 6-minute drives? I mean, that offense of the Bills must have been cold as well.
Oh yeah,
the defense is tired.
It was bad. Yeah, it was really bad, and really like the bend don't break may work in low scoring games where your offense is able to produce a little bit, but the problem is the first time you break, the whole game's over. I think our red zone defense this week was incredible. We did a really good job stopping points being put on the board, but I think one missed tackle or one overcorrection for a cornerback, and that whole story is over with. And so then not only are you talking about wasting more time and taking more time off the clock, but it ultimately ends in a touchdown for the other team. And then at that point, your offense was struggling already. It's going to be very, very hard to come back when you're instead of 6-3 or something like that, you're down. It's something like 14 or 12. I mean, even those kind of higher. Just one touchdown can really make a huge difference when it comes to just bleeding the clock like they did.
What's your thoughts on that, Tim?
Well,
because, I mean, if you look at the time of possession, I mean, Carolina had the ball for 38 minutes and 53 seconds, and the Bills had it for 21 minutes and 7 seconds. So, I mean, the Bills didn't even fire off that many plays at first,
I think that a bend, don't break defense works if the offense can at least string together a couple of first downs. And that's the problem we saw early in the game, is that we couldn't get past third down. What was the first three drives were 3 and out, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, when a bend don't break is complemented by an offense that can just keep moving things. And I feel like we talked about it a little bit earlier how, maybe the first 15 plays were scripted by the Bills. And the thing is, there's got to come a point, I mean, whether this is on McDermott or Dennison, there's got to come a point where you say, all right, clearly McCoy's not working right now because of what they're doing on the front, on the defensive front, especially defensive tackles. He couldn't get anywhere. Maybe it's the blocking scheme. Maybe it's they were just, credit to Carolina. They were fierce out there on defense. That D-line was just nonstop. Yeah. But there's got to come a point earlier in the game where if you're not getting the ball very often, where you got to say, all right, we got to change things up a little bit. We got to try something different. And I think you saw that at the end of the game, but it was the last drive that the Bills finally did that. And I watch it and I'm like, oh man, you guys finally got it. You started connecting up. I mean, Zay Jones had a couple of catches in that last drive before the drop. Before it went through his fingertips. We had some good plays and some movement of the ball quickly, and we didn't see that the rest of the game. And this is one of those unfortunate criticisms I have of my favorite team in the world, the Bills. But it seems like we just take a long time to respond to an issue that we're seeing on the field. We don't retool quickly. We need to do that better. I think we're fully capable of it. As you saw, we moved in that last drive, but it's too little too late. We got to be able to, think on our feet quicker. And, you want to call that a coaching thing? Maybe it is. It's definitely a play calling thing.
I'll tell you what, man, the first half, okay, the Bills had 5 drives. I'm not going to consider the one where they got the ball punted to them with 6 seconds left in the first half, okay? But the Bills' first drive was on the 25, after Carolina kicked the field goal. Their next drive started at the 10. They ran 8 plays, okay? So, you got to do better with that. And I don't know if there was like a penalty or something on there, but it says from Buffalo 10 to Buffalo 17. So it's like, I don't understand how when you're starting at the 10 and then your following drive, you're starting at the 2, and then you have one other drive with 2 minutes left starting at the 25. So 2 out of 4 drives are within the 20, actually within the 10 or less. And people expect a defense that they're going to key in on the one damn playmaker on the team, LaShawn McCoy, and we're shocked that they executed it. One of the fastest defenses in the league, right? And we're shocked that they stopped the run. And then people want to point out that, the offense is absolutely putrid. Now, don't get me wrong. I agree, because, again, the Bills started at 25. They only get 6 plays in there. It's done. You know what I'm saying? So I actually read the sheet upside down wrong earlier when I was screwing up. But it's like the Bills just, they started at 21. They do their 3-and-out thing. And it seemed like they start just crappy. Another 14-yard drive start. Then they finally get the ball in the 43 and get some points. There was no turnovers. It's just a really wonky game where the Panthers reminded me of that one Jaguars game with Doug Moron as head coach, and they just came out and squished the life out of the ball in the second half with 9 minutes of a drive opening. Yeah. If you remember that game, remember that one, the EJ game? So it's like, or no, was it? Yeah.
I think it was either EJ. I'm pretty sure it was EJ.
Yeah, because when we were on, it was EJ. Yeah.
So I mean, for me, it's like, was the offense bad? Yes, but when the announcers are going, the guys calling the game are going, wow, they just got to like 15 plays, and it was late in the second quarter, the Bills, and usually your first 15 plays, Tim was saying earlier, is that. That's a litmus test. All right, how are they going to react to this? So let's show them this, show them that. You know what I mean? So,
and if you can't react because you don't have like a database, like gameplay database, that's a way to look at it.
Right.
If you don't have that, then you can't make adjustments. You could say that, but I say if something's not working and you're seeing it, don't give it more than 2 drives. If that's 6 plays,
find a right tackle.
That could help.
Definitely.
Well, I mean, the thing, going along with what Tim was saying, I think, us in the future, we won't be as, because I really think Carolina was pretty rusty in this game. Even Cam showed, his ability to hit targets was a little bit similar to the way it was in that 49ers game.
Yeah.
He looked rusty. I think that shoulder surgery, I don't know if he's still recovering from it or if he's just going to take a couple weeks. I think he usually starts relatively slow and then kind of builds throughout the season. But I think we aren't going to be as lucky as Bills fans, especially going forward. I mean, I think next week we play, a powerhouse of an offense. Denver. Okay, so I'm thinking of
powerhouse D.
I'm thinking of when we play Atlanta. I mean, when they're going to put points up on you, that quickly, like Atlanta has the ability to do. We got pretty lucky in the fact that that Carolina wasn't able to really get it together. But if they had, this game would have been over in the second.
I'm sorry, but I think Cam Newton got extremely lucky. He showed everything I was hoping to show, and he got a lot of breaks. Cam Newton.
Totally
as far as just how the cookie crumbles, how the ball bounces. You know what I mean? Any other game, if he would have lost that game. If Cam Newton would have lost that game, they would have crushed him. So
and that's Dave, that's a good point. And here's the thing, we're just a couple of fingertips away on Zay Jones's miss from winning that game. And I mean, I'm not in Carolina. I don't know how they are in the media, but you kind of think if you transpose Buffalo's media over there, that the next morning, if Jones had made that catch and we'd punched it in the end zone, Carolina's media, if they're Buffalo's media, would just be all over Cam Newton. They'd be tearing him up. They'd be saying he had the worst game, blah, 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 blah. But he comes out as maybe not the savior, but he comes out looking good. And it's really just because of our defense, and I'll say nothing but good about the Bills' defense in this game, but he just comes out looking good because we just didn't quite connect on that one pass.
It was just a miscommunication all the way through. And I mean, to quote Donald Jones, when you're running that route, you're taught to run the ball high. Tyrod is thinking Zay is going to, but the quarterback will throw you flat if he needs to. Because like when I'm watching it, it's almost, it's one of those things where I was always taught if the ball hits your hands, even your fingertips, you got to catch the ball. And Zay Jones just had an untimely, just a torque, a twist, and it's just one of those NFL things. And Donald Jones was harping on it on the John Murphy show today, saying like, look, man, that's just what you get with the college wide receiver versus an NFL wide receiver. So coming into this league, I had to run everything deeper, and people did not get that. Like you don't get that. It doesn't feel right. And that's just one of those things. Tyrod Taylor was out with a damn concussion. Whatever. We can make whatever excuses we want or not. Tyrod takes some of this blame too. At the same time, that catch, yes, it should be expected. It's a bummer. It is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think when I was looking at it from where I was sitting, what I thought was that the cut was supposed to have gone to the back corner pylon.
Yeah.
Right.
It looks like that maybe he went to the front corner pylon.
Yes, exactly.
Donald Jones actually spoke about
himself.
that on the radio. He said that exact same thing. So you're right.
So coming from a receiver to say that you got to run to the back pylon, it's like, I don't know the X's and O's like, say, Eric, who studies this stuff at cover1.net, shout out to him, does, or other people. But it's like, you gotta at least, be objective about it. It's so easy to just hammer on Tyrod Taylor. But honestly, if you're just going to be that guy to just hammer on Tyrod Taylor, I'd like to not talk to you about other things in life because you don't want to be objective. So it's like...
Yeah, I totally agree. And it seems like that game was, it really went down to the wire, and it did hang on that one play. But, the Bills did not capitalize really at all game. And so to really lay at the feet of that one play seems a bit unfair, especially on a rookie wide receiver anyways. I think Zay Jones has incredible talent. There's no getting by that. He definitely is going to be a number one wide receiver. He is going to take some time to develop and really make that chemistry with Tyrod. They're going to miss a few passes, and this just happened to be the one that the game hinged on. So I think, dwelling too much on that is probably not even really that fruitful, because there were tons of passes that have hit players right in the chest and they drop them before, But I think, this whole game, I didn't think that the Bills won anyway. It was an opportunity, a lucky opportunity for us to have after a pretty good drive.
It's a typical early season Bills loss where you're like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? You're going to look at the schedule, and it's like, this is one of those things where Carolina is not in our division, but you just hope they just start whooping ass. That way whoever else they play in the division starts whooping ass too, or they whoop them. Like Miami needs to lose to them, the Patriots needs to lose to them, and I hate playing that game. It's like. People want to talk about a new coach, this and that. Rex Ryan's an idiot, whatever you want to call him. Well, guess what? No coach is the same coach. I don't care if they're running the exact system or not. They're going to be asked to do something a little bit different. And this is a crap I hate about coaching changes. I hate bringing a new guy. He's a new coach. You got to give him some time to work on clock management. Motherfucker, play Madden. Play fucking Madden. Because Sean McDermott wasted over a fucking minute in that game. Okay? Yeah. Like, really, man. Play some Madden and get your head out of your ass. People are turning right now. Oh, Madden, whatever, dude. Like, no. Learn some clock management. Like, do I have to phone in? Or is that, like, cheating? I don't understand, dude. I'll throw a purple flag to you. Bring me to the game. Stop that clock. Yo, dude, I will tap on you. Like, pay a guy. Pagulas. Pay somebody to watch the clock. I don't cost that much money. I have my own liability for drywall, but I can get something else. Like
I would gladly stand on the sideline and just give somebody a clock update.
Dude, it's just ridiculous, because.
Well, actually, I mean,
I want to defend them on some of them, but then I'm like,
devil's advocate here. How many delay of game penalties did Carolina get? At least 3 or 4. And like,
who cares? There's nothing to do with this.
I thought we were pretty well coached in terms of, knowing about the clock and using our timeouts when we used them. Although at the very end, I was a little skeptical about that.
I don't know, man. Like I even thought earlier in the game, there was an earlier drive. It's like I think on the 3-minute-ish mark for Carolina. It's like, dude, they've literally had the ball like this whole time. Can we call it time? You know, I don't know, man. That's honestly just one of those things that I really pick up in Madden, where you stop the clock on 3-minute mark, let them run a play. I don't know. I don't know. Just it sounds stupid. It sounds ridiculous. I'm not making a good case here for McDermott. No, screw that. The clock management was off. I'm not backing down from that. It's true. Right. It's true because, you know, I'm very disappointed at the lack of adjustments. You know, if you can't get the ball out, you got to change something up. Why not run something? You know what I used to like about my favorite coach ever, Chan Gailey, is he was laughed at running a pistol the very first play he ever ran on offense as a head coach of the Bills. And then everybody starts incorporating it. You know what I mean? It's kind of an old school football formation has kind of come back and, you know, reapplied for a new generation. And it's like, you know, when you split people wide, you make it a little bit less predictable. And LaShawn McCoy would have so much space. And I just think about Fred Jackson running, and you know, you're running with a few wide receivers out there. You know, maybe only just one tight end. You know, can we mix it up a little bit? Just maybe give them a different look. Because the Panthers came to stop the run, and we're just going to go big guys on big guys here and impose our will. Like, it ain't working.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well,
so,
and it's, you know,
total credit. Okay, sorry, go ahead, Ted.
You know, and it's fine if it doesn't work, but I think my contention is that recognize it's not working. Don't say we're going to do 15 plays and then start changing it up. You know, if it's not working and it's clear and they're eating a lot of clock, you got to change it faster. You got to be more ready to just scrap your game plan and come up with something different. You know, that's, you know, maybe if they're always in the backfield doing something like little screen passes where there's either a back out of the backfield or one of the tight ends or one of the receivers comes in and just does little tiny screens, bubble screens, things like that. I mean, they're not really I
think they ran. I counted like 2 screens. Am I wrong? I think there was like a screen to Charles Tate and one screen to LaShawn McCoy. And not for nothing, you have Richie Incognito, which is one of the best pulling guards in the league. Okay, you had the right side of the line able to run some run stuff, we'll call it, in their power in their power run scheme that worked. Is it like that hard? I don't understand. Maybe I don't understand football enough, but like, is it that hard to maybe pick a few run plays that were just kind of like the money plays, which was a multiple look run style offense last year and the year before, which you had some zone plays and you had some power plays. I mean, God forbid you get that on tape. And I understand you have a fullback and they're running some of those concepts, you would think, but it's like, you know, if that doesn't work, try the other thing kind of conversation. But we've seen plays work with these same 5 before. What's the difference? That's what I want to know. And that's what I also hate about changing coaches.
Because it's a marriage
because now
to a new concept.
The right side of the line is a mess. You're going to go into it, and all the draft nicks are going to go, oh, you know, Incognito, he's old. You know, Eric Wood, he's old. Man, Buffalo Bills offensive line, what's the offensive line? That's what people are going to say. And before you know it, Tyrod Taylor's going to suck. And I'm going to throw it out here on this podcast now, some shit on the wall for people. The Bills have 2 first-round draft picks. You want to get rid of Marcel Darius? You couple up a first-round pick and Marcel Darius, and you trade him to the Indianapolis Colts for Andrew Luck, who's injured. And, you know, because what if the Colts end up with the pick? Like, what if the Colts end up with a high pick? Or you trade your 2 firsts for that high pick to get the quarterback that you think is going to be the answer that Buffalo will never give 3 fucking years to have a chance to at least fuck it up. They won't, because every Bills fan is apparently goddamn John Gruden. That's really it. Everybody's John Gruden and Bill Walsh. Like, come on, man. The quarterback evaluators, all a Buffalo Bills fans. So look, it don't matter who you get. You could get Joe Montana. I got an argument with the guy on Twitter because he told me he unfollowed me because of my misguided rumblings, unsubscribed to the podcast. Good for you, because when I look through your Twitter feed and you have dog shit coming out of your mouth like, oh, we could have had Dak. Well, idiot. Tyrod Taylor was the starter. Unless Tony Romo doesn't get hurt, the dude doesn't play. So, guess what? Don't tell me we could have had Dak. All right? It's it's a shitty take. You just hate your life, and that's okay. Yeah. I hate mine too, but not for nothing. Don't take it out on the fucking Bills, dude, because these players have lives, they have wives, they have families, they have all sorts of shit. I think just at least looking at this stuff objectively, just for a pinch, would be kind of nice. You know?
Yeah, and as someone just jumping off of that, the point about Andrew Luck, I've seen that pop up every now and again. Especially here since
wait, hold on. Because I have to be, a dick and cut you off. Real quick. The reason I think that would work is because you get to clear Darius's cap space, and you would just take on Andrew Luck's. So
well, and I to kind of agree with you on that. I think
if they want him, which would be crazy.
The front office, honestly, is turned to total dog shit lately. I think, fans are starting to panic. This team, this area is really used to having, a playoff contention team every year. And with Andrew Luck, I mean, Scott Tolzien, Brissett, whoever it is at quarterback over there right now, fans are just eroding away from this team. And I think it has, solely everything to do with the front office over there. And, it really would not surprise me one bit if they bit on something as big as taking Darius and a couple of picks and trading them away. But that said, he is hands down the fan favorite here. I think you would see a potential for massive, massive fan loss if Indianapolis were to trade Luck to any other team, let alone Buffalo.
Buffalo fans need to take notice at the Andrew Luck situation, and you need to look around, okay? And I'm not saying this is everybody listening. I know I see more negative than I see positive because I'm not just going to spew my positivity all over the internet. It's just not going to happen. It's just it's a natural skew. But to the negative, to the non-objective, you have to kind of appreciate what you have. I would love to see Nate Peterman one day, but Nate Peterman is not scrambling for those first downs necessarily. Maybe, because he showed that in camp a little bit, but he's not Tyrod, and it's just, I would rather go with somebody developed. That's at least more developed, and I think, it's a far fetch for anything in Buffalo, but just looking at it objectively, what do you see here on out for the Bills? And I'll just let you go. Like, what are you looking to see? Obviously, the defense is looking stout.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, I think for most Buffalo fans, especially ones who can't go to the games often as you guys over there, I think the only thing I can hang my hat on this year is the defense. I'm hoping that the defense can really get developed, and I'm hoping, praying, whatever, into next season that we can pull off some insane trade, or maybe we can look at Darnold or Allen or whoever in college, and if we don't have that playmaker we have now on offense, hopefully next year we can roll the dice and find something to take us to that next level, because elsewise we're going to be watching a lot of defensive struggles.
All right, well, James, Tim, you have anything to add to James before James goes? You have anything for him, bud? Well, what kind of guitar do you play? Like, are you a Fender guy, Gibson guy, Ibanez?
Yeah, I do, because I prefer the Telecaster.
There we go.
I've got thin line. So.
You have a thin line with the F cut?
Yeah.
Dude, double humbucker?
Yeah. No, actually, no. I think it's a single.
Okay, Mexican?
Yeah, Mexican made.
There's actually a Squire one. Is it the wood grain?
Yeah, there's a wood grain one, yeah.
Yeah. There's
those
actually,
look nice.
I was actually in the Webster Music Store. Plug to those guys because that store is always on point. That guy over there is the man. Yeah, they actually have a Squire Telecaster.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good stuff about that.
That looks just like the Mexican, obviously Squire. But like, I'm never impressed with Squire. Like, I have like this Squire bass I got within a trade. I picked up like this package of like this Japanese Strat. It's all beat up. So I'm probably gonna throw it on reverb because I'm a Les Paul guy. So like I have a custom.
I've tried to convert him. I've tried.
Dude, I'm not convert. No. Hey, look, I'm not really a Strat guy. I am definitely a Tele guy. My dad is a Les Paul guy, so that's how I got into it. And I traded an amp for a custom, like a $1,500 amp that I made on payments. And I was like, whoa, the planets aligned. My dream guitar in my hands. And the kid was like 17. He goes, this was like 6 years ago. He goes, yeah, it was just too heavy. I'm like, okay.
Lift some weights, dude.
Like, oh, okay. I'll trade you a Marshall JVM 410 for that, like all day. So
I did a lot of trading with those kind of guitars. I may have had the Squire one. I hung on to it for a little while we were doing studio work way back in the day. But I just love the balance and the warmth that you get out of those Teles, and it's great stuff. Man.
That's on the list, man. I'm stoked you have that. Let me know if you want to sell it. When you want to upgrade to the American one, just toss it my way. But James, I'm gonna just say bye to you here, and then I'll just keep you on the line, all right? So James,
okay,
where can we find you though? You're on Twitter, you're on Instagram, whatever. I'll probably have you regularly keep in touch too.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at James Borum. That's BORUM.
Awesome, James. Tim, he was awesome. Like,
thanks so much. It was great talking to you.
I did not expect this. This was awesome.
Hey,
so
thanks,
appreciate
guys.
the call.
All right, one second. All right, so that was James. James was awesome, and we ended up talking to James for like another 40 minutes. So we're back. And now Tim, unfortunately, has to go soon. So, Tim, what do you have to say about anything else on Carolina? I mean, really, I thought we did not expect to be able to dive into a caller who randomly hits me up on Twitter like, hey, can I come on a podcast? It's like, yes, for sure. And like I was complimenting the Reddit community, a lot of the people I interact with on Twitter, most of them seem pretty bright. I was really hoping to take on a lot of trolls just because I'm used to getting shit on and called retard and fuckface on job sites for years as a teenager, so my shell is pretty fucking thick. Come at me, bro. And I'm ready to go take on the trolls. And there's, I got into it with the guy on Twitter I was talking. I kind of said, I was going to say something like, maybe this is a reason why people like you shouldn't procreate, but that might have been a little too low because accidents happen. Anyways, so anything else you got, man?
Well, I'm just really hoping that next week we get a little offense going. I know Denver is they're going to be a really tough defense. I think
that's a hell of a team, man.
Something that I saw that we didn't really, I was saying earlier, like we got to do some more like bubble screens and some more like kind of misdirections where you get those linemen to think that they've got Taylor in their sights, and then dump it off somehow so that we can actually make some yards out of it. And I think we might run into the same problem against Denver just with their D-line being as strong and as quick as they are. We might have to do a little dink and dunk. But also, like I was saying too, we waited a long time to really start going deep. And I think we got to try some of that too. I think we just got to be we got to open the playbook. And maybe not script as much at the beginning. Or if we do script a good amount in the beginning, toss in some more variety in there, I think I don't know if that's the answer, but I would just like to see that personally.
So the one thing I wanted to bring up is, the Bills' first two games last year, if you remember, and I just pulled out the Buffalo Bills media guide.
Oh, the
yes,
Baltimore
they're
game,
terrible.
Yeah,
they're net rushing. Okay, my overall point is it might take a few games to get this offensive line to gel in a more primarily run block scheme, zone run scheme. Okay, so what I'm getting at here is the first game against Baltimore, the Bills had 65 yards rushing. Oh, wow. Second game, overall, net. So that's everybody. And I could find out if that was Tyrod Taylor, too. And against the Jets, second game,
86. All right.
So it's kind of one of those things where do you give this? You got to give this line a few days or a few games, and it's
okay.
There's
Well,
nothing. There's nothing we
and...
can. There's nothing we can do. But you can say in a zone run scheme, everything flows a certain way, and when you stop that flow, things just collapse, and you just end up with it looks like this wall of fucking shit in front of you, and you just fall over. So like, I don't know. It's like we have LaShawn McCoy for this reason too. I mean Tyrod Taylor for this reason too. Mask these problems, and maybe it's I don't want to use the word creativity. I don't know what it could be from the offensive coordinator. Do I think we got to lay the hammer down? No. One thing I will say is if you don't have money go-to plays in your playbook that can maybe pick up from last year that they did successfully, and you have a lot of the same guys on that line, I think maybe you need to incorporate something in there. Just at least take a look or ask the players, hey, I'm sure they did, you would think, but how many times you get in situations where you go, yeah, you did that, right? No, why would we do that? We're the coach. It happens. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what did you guys do well? What do you... And then maybe build something within your system that works. I don't know, but they got to get some money plays down, Tim.
That's true, but here's the thing that I think. Just from the little that we know about McDermott so far, I just feel like he's a very process-oriented guy. He tells you like 5 times in a press conference. What makes you think that? I'm just saying. You're right. You're right. So like maybe he's just tooling this particular process with these particular athletes, and it's going to take him a little while to get the nuts and bolts tightened the right way.
Process sounds like give me time.
Hey,
and that's what I'm saying.
I'm going to take it to basketball for
line.
a moment. Joel Embiid. Trust the process.
Oh, dude.
I'm kidding.
You're so funny.
My brother lives in Philly, so I hear about the process.
Dude, the process, man. I don't want to hear about trusting, but you have to. And that's kind of in a weird way when, this podcast, even with Rex Ryan, it's like, just let him do his thing for a bit. Okay? Because when you heart for coaches to be changed and GMs to be fired, this is what you get. You get guys getting shipped out that you could use for the first year he's healthy. You could use to at least trot out their shitty attitude or not, so that at least maybe the safety pays attention to him just a little bit more. So it opens up, the middle of the field where Tyrod Taylor allegedly can't throw, but this year he's shown he can throw in the middle of the field. That would be kind of cool to have that receiver out there, but good riddance. Good riddance. And that one part really bothers me.
Yeah.
But we've also seen this team without Sammy Watkins many times put up a shitload of points.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
So whether you start on your own, there was one drive where they just said, screw it, we're going to throw within our own, like, with our backs against our end zone. And credit to them for trying.
The first 3 plays were passes.
I'm glad that they tried that. You know what I mean? But it's like, there was nobody to take the lid off that's proven to take the lid off. Can Zay Jones be that guy? Maybe. And this kid's going to take it to heart, get this game out of your system, dude. Get back in it. Maybe this game is the best game to happen to the Bills.
Who knows? So,
all right. Do you have anything else? I just pretty much talked and kicked you out of my house.
Let's see. I just got to say, props to that defense because, we saw the bend don't break. We saw how long they were on the field, and it was 85 to 90 degrees, very humid in North Carolina. They really, they played a heck of a game, but they played a heck of a game given some really tough circumstances and being put in some bad situations, unfortunately, by the offense. So and they never seemed tired. I did really like what McDermott did with the DL rotation. I think that's gonna be really good throughout the whole year.
That worked out for that game.
Yeah, and I think what it'll do over the span of the entire year is we'll see our D-line stay strong and stay fresher and maybe have fewer injuries, because when you're playing tired, that's when you get hurt. We've heard people say that if,
Tim, why don't you give him your background as an athlete real quick? Why don't you give him your track record? Just do it. Just give him what you've done so people can have a little respect, so you do understand what the hell you're talking about when it comes to work ethic and getting to the top of, really, I mean, you got to a spot where not many people get in athletics, so...
Well, I think I started by playing soccer way back in the day, and then I got into high school, and I'd always played backyard football, but I'm a skinny little twerp, about 5'6".
But you did track stuff, didn't you?
Yeah, and I always did indoor track. But yeah, I got into I tried out for the football team because I was very fast. So I played football for 2 years. I realized I'm too small for this. I'm gonna get killed. My mom will, have to bury me.
Right.
So I tried to go back and play soccer, and everyone else had gotten better. So I ended up not making the team, and they offered me to be the team coach, where basically I hold a clipboard for a year, and then I maybe get to play my senior year. And I said, I can't do that. So I ended up starting to run cross country, and this is my junior year of high school, and just out of the blue, just kind of took off. And then I ended up running in college at Calvin College in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I ran after college a bit, and I coached at SUNY Brockport for 4 years. So did a lot of running, distance running. So,
your mom was really proud of something you did, an achievement you had, or something you got into?
My mom's proud of everything I did.
Well, I mean,
she's a sweetheart. She's a sweetheart.
You're like a really, if you don't know Tim Avery, you should know Tim Avery. He's probably one of the best human beings I've ever met.
Oh,
so I don't really mean that. I mean, I don't even like swearing in front of him, and it's hard. But your mom's really proud. Did you get a scholarship? Did you get something? What was it? Or did you make some kind of states or something? I don't know. Regionals.
I went to nationals for.
That's kind of a big deal.
Division III.
It's still a big deal.
I went every year in cross country and once in track individually in the 10,000 meters. So.
All right. Well, Tim with this humble brag, I guess.
Basically, the 10,000 is the race no one wants to do because it just hurts a lot. It's about 30 plus minutes of pain.
Yo, I hate running for real. I love ice skating. I'm like a Tasmanian devil. I skate with my head down because that's not the way to skate. I don't really skate as much with my head down. I'm new to it. But yeah, man, I feel you, dude. You're a grinder, Tim. You really are a grinder, man. Well, Tim,
takes one to know one.
Can we find you on the interwebs anywhere? Do you want anybody to hit you up or not at all?
You can just find me out going to shows and sometimes playing some guitar, maybe. I'm just Tim Avery on Facebook in Rochester.
What's your Instagram? What's your Instagram name?
I'm at the Tim Avery, and my Instagram is mostly full of videos of shows and concerts and stuff like that.
Yeah, you wouldn't know it, but Tim promotes a lot of stuff at the Bug Jar in Rochester, New York, and he has a platform here where he could tell me if he has anything coming up at Bug Jar. Is there anything do you promote?
Well, on Wednesday we have a band called Pale Hound coming to town. They're excellent, kind of indie, a little emo, a little noodly, really good. Just good band. Got some other good ones. Laura Stevenson is coming up this Saturday. That's going to be really great. They're kind of Americana with a little tinge of punk. Yeah, what else is coming up that's going to be really good? I don't know. I think the best thing to do is to go to www.bugjar.com, and I usually put links up to the bands so you can give them a listen, check them out. And if you're not in Rochester, just, maybe they're coming through your town, and if you like what you hear, look them up and, go see them. Go support live music.
Do you have an email?
bugjarbooking@gmail.com.
Yeah, so if you're in a band and... whether you've played a show or not, ever, or you want to start a band, honestly, you could hit Tim up. If not, you can email me or shoot me a message, and I'll get you in touch with a promoter who can put you on, because we do music. That's what we do.
Yep.
So it's like, we'll get you in touch with whoever. So if you play music or you see bands that get inspired, get your buddies together. Music is one of the best things you could do. And, keep in mind, though, it's a small business. And it's going to cost you money. So just be a little bit savvy. Just promote hard and be honest about it. If you have paper flyers you can make at an office or something, you'll get a lot farther ahead than most people will. So hit up Tim if you ever want to get booked anywhere at the Bug Jar. He does shows all the time, like all the time. I can't.
A couple of other DIY spaces too. So
yeah. So
or friends that will book if I'm busy. So.
Well, Tim, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
I think I'm gonna make the podcast with my friend Jamie a separate one, meet my little brother. That's not my little brother, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
So he was also at the Carolina game. So all right, man. Well, so I guess I'll just pause this. All right, so that was Tim Avery, and as you heard there, I'm just gonna run this podcast with my buddy Jamie probably tomorrow. So look out for podcast number 139, and that'll be what I call a timeless podcast where you get to meet another character of my life, and he'll be a regular contributor calling back with me. And Jamie's awesome. I have definitely smashed some PlayStation 2 controllers. I used to live at his house. He is the little brother of my best friend, Corey Kreider. And, maybe when I was 18, I would gamble with the 12-year-old over Madden, and he wouldn't fucking pay. And I would threaten him. And his mom trying to call the cops. Dave, you gotta get out of here. Meanwhile, she already just served me dinner. Like, trying to get in some manner with the kid. It's gotta be like that. So anyways, Jamie should be coming up sometime. And then, when little Squirt ends up old enough to leave the house at 16, he comes and visits my apartment and beats my ass in Madden as I'm 21 or 22. And I just rip the controller right into the wall. There's a cement wall, shattered. PS2. Back in the day, when you would play with a modem that you bought for your PS2, and Madden would actually filter out plays. So, like, on say 4th and 15, on your own 50, you had to punt. And if you want to play it without the filter of the plays, it was some different thing it was called. I don't remember. Who am I talking to? Myself? I'm alone right now. Cool. So, thank you for tuning in. That was a Carolina Panthers game review thingy with James from Indy. That's what we're going to call him, James from Indy. James, thank you so much for calling in. Hell of a guest. Did not expect it, and very knowledgeable. I expect to hear from James in the future. So, take care. Don't forget to check out GrandstandSportsNetwork.com. Also, PunchdrunkSports.com, and follow at PunchDrunk on Twitter. Get there on Etsy if you want to support the podcast. And as always, check out CoverOne.net. Eric Turner and Kevin Masseri do a wonderful job, so please support them. As well, if you want some great analytics, just favorite them. You can't ever go wrong. Even a great Instagram follower. Eric has a really clean Instagram. I like it. So, good stuff. Great oldies. I'm your host, David Palermo, and this has been Numb Bills Fan Podcast number 138.